Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty hit the highest level in 10 months as Bull maintained their winning momentum. Bank stocks lead the charge. The Nifty Bank Index hits a record closing high. PSU banks report a strong Q2. Profits grow 50%. Loan growth is over 19%. Asset quality also improves with gross non-performing assets declining by nearly 16%. Chaos and uncertainty mark Elon Musk's first week as the new owner and CEO of Twitter. Reports suggest some employees who were laid off are now being recalled. Twitter is also banning handles that engage in impersonating Elon Musk after some celebrities changed their display name and tweeted as Musk. Apple warns of a delay in iPhone shipments after China imposed COVID restrictions on the largest Foxconn factory. Schools are shut in Beijing as the country persists with its zero COVID policy. Daily infections hit the highest level in over 6 months. The Supreme Court upholds a 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions for economically weaker sections of society in a 3-2 split verdict. The BJP and the Congress welcome the judgment. The DMK calls it a setback. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Stalin hints at a potential review petition. Automobile sales jumped 48% in October as festive season boosts demand. Auto dealers say car sales are on the right track, but entry-level two-wheeler sales remain a concern. COP27, the annual climate summit, opens in Egypt with a rallying call asking rich nations to pay up on the $100 billion financing pledge. For the first time, climate compensation is on the agenda to help poor nations that are most vulnerable. And as we count down to the elections in Himachal Pradesh, we take a look at the issues facing apple farmers in the state. A special ground report coming up. Well, let's start with the market action. The Sensex and the Nifty hitting the highest level in 10 months as earnings season draws to a close. Bank stocks leading the rally with the Nifty Bank Index ending at a record closing high. Prashant is here with the market wrap. Prashant, bulls firmly in control.
Trade on Friday, the market started higher, sold off, was flat for most parts of the day, and then it came alive exactly at 2:30 when there was a big push higher. It was led by banks, and let me explain. So Bank Nifty was doing the better of the two indices for most parts of the day, but it was largely led by public sector banks, which have been doing well. Private banks not so much, but starting 2:30, you had private banks which also came into the mix, and both these combined doing a lot to help the Bank Nifty and the Nifty as well. Both Nifty and Bank Nifty are not very far away from their respective all-time highs, by the way. It was all about results in the Nifty, large caps or outside as well. What did well, like Britannia, SBI, Bank of Baroda, some of the largest gainers, these were on the back of earnings beats. The two biggest disappointments, losers today, were also earnings-led. Divi's Laboratories and Marico is what I'm talking about. Outside of the PSU names like SBI and Bank of Baroda, there was a whole list of those. Bank of India, Union Bank, Canara Bank, to name a few. Rail infrastructure stocks is a theme we'd highlighted earlier. RVNL, RailTel, IRCON, IRFC, their entire gamut continuing to do very well. And of course, the leader there has been RVNL. In the broader markets, Amara Raja for the second straight day running, NIIT, IRB, there was JK Lakshmi, which did very well. Supreme Industries is coming out of a bit of a slumber. GE Shipping and many more names participating very strongly. Market breadth was positive. There were losers as well, but most of them were earnings-related disappointments. Up ahead, as I said, the markets are not very far away from all-time highs. Tomorrow is a market holiday, but there are U.S. midterm elections in the U.S., which I think we'll watch closely. But the big important cue from a sort of market perspective in terms of data really is the consumer price inflation number for October out of the US, which is only on Thursday. Will we get to new highs before that, or will we have to wait for that? That is something which we will have to wait and watch. Back to you.
All right, Prashant, many thanks for joining us. But that was the equity market story. In the currency market, the rupee trading in a narrow band against the dollar. The currency continues to hold its ground against the greenback amidst easing crude prices and upbeat domestic stock markets. As things currently stand, $1 continues to cost more than 82 rupees. And as earnings season draws to a close, PSU banks are the clear standout. All 12 state-run banks reporting a profit in Q2 with a combined growth in profit at more than 50%. Asset quality is also improved with GNPA declining by nearly 16%. Abhishek Kothari is here with the PSU Bank report card. Abhishek, give us the deep dive.
Well, Q2 FY23 has been an operationally strong quarter for the PSU banks. The loan growth has been pretty robust at above 19% YOY and about close to 5% sequentially, which means that they have gained market share both YOY and quarter on quarter. So the operating profit growth is very healthy at 18% YOY and about 32.1% sequentially, largely led by the fact, net interest margin has expanded for majority of these PSU banks on a sequential basis, and the trading losses that they had in Q1 has actually reversed for many of them. So PAT is up about 50.4% YOY and about 65.7% sequentially. While the operating profits are healthy, the declining credit costs have actually helped the earnings momentum for PSU banks. So the return on advances that I've calculated is at about 1.35%, up from 0.85% in the previous quarter and up from 1.07% in the same quarter last year. In absolute value, their gross NPA is down 15.9% YOY and about 13% sequentially, and their net NPA is down about 29.3% YOY and 13% sequentially. So calculation does show that the gross NPA ratio is now at 6.5% when compared to 7.5% in the previous quarter, and the net NPA ratio is at 1.65% when compared to around 2% in the previous quarter. So overall, the core provision coverage ratio has also strengthened by 120 basis points on a sequential basis. Back to you.
Abhishek, many thanks for joining us. As we pointed out, a standout quarter there for all public sector banks. We're staying with earnings. Low-cost airline Indigo has its eyes set on network capacity expansion. Indigo's new CEO, Peter Elbers, in an interview with CNBC, said the company is targeting ramping up capacity by 13 to 17% by the end of the fiscal. The airline reported a mixed set of numbers in Q2, while revenue was up by 122% to over 12,000 crores. Losses widened to 1,533 crores.
Take a little look forward. We continue our capacity expansion and our network expansion in the third and the fourth quarter going forward. Actually, in the second quarter, we have inaugurated our 100th destination. We continue to expand that network, and we expect to end this year in some 13 to 70% capacity levels higher than the pre-COVID situation. Clearly, demand, as we have seen, remains to be very strong, and that's also why we're taking a lot of measures in order to meet with this increasing demand. Clearly, our priority so far has been restoring the network.
Well, that's Indigo looking at restoring the network and adding capacity as well. In the IPO corner, issues from Bikaji and Medanta closed today. Bikaji has seen strong demand across the board. Medanta has seen strong institutional demand, but the retail portion is still not fully subscribed. Yash is here with more. Yash.
Well, that's correct. So both issues, Bikaji as well as Medanta, have received a good response from investors. It's been long since, we are seeing IPOs coming back to the market. Starting with Bikaji, it's Bhujia all the way. As far as the subscription is concerned, the total subscription for Bikaji Foods, that stands at 26 times. QIB portion, which is the qualified institutional buyers, have subscribed to this IPO 78 times. These are good, strong numbers as far as subscription is concerned. HNI at 7 times, retail category at 5 times, employee category also not far behind at 4 times. The company intends to raise about 881 crore rupees through this IPO. It has received demands for about 66,000 crore rupees. As far as Medanta is concerned, the QIB portion is going strong, 28 times, HNI at 4 times. Retail is where it's facing some issues. On the last day, subscribed about 83%, so yet to be fully subscribed. The company is looking to raise about 2,200 crore through this IPO. It has received demand for 22,000 crore rupees. As far as price band for both is concerned, for Bikaji Foods, it's 285 to 300 rupees a share. For Global Health, that is Medanta, it's 319 to 336 rupees per share. How much of these strong subscription really translates into a premium on listing? We'll have to watch out for that one.
All right, Yash, thanks very much for sizing up the IPO action for us. Festive fervour has put the auto sector in the fast lane, with auto dealers recording a 48% jump in retail sales. Two-wheeler category seen a 51% year-on-year growth, while three-wheelers have seen a 66% jump. Similarly, passenger vehicle segment has grown by 41%, while the commercial vehicle sales saw 25% growth. Federation of Auto Dealers Association says it remains cautious as the auto industry approaches the year-end period.
Actually, it was a very good on a year-to-year basis and on a 42-day festive period. both the categories, both the parts, if we see, we are seeing a good growth in whether it is two-wheeler or passenger car vehicles. So we are quite positive about the PV segment. We are very positive in PV segment, the festive demand will, post-festive festivities, the demand will continue. We are slightly still worried about the two-wheeler segment. For the growth story to continue, this kind of growth or a steady growth needs to be registered on a continuous 3 to 4 months basis.
Well, that's Fada on Auto Sales. The big international story, chaos and uncertainty continue to loom over Elon Musk-led Twitter. The company has announced that users will have to pay $8 to subscribe to Twitter Blue. Reports say the company will officially launch this update after the US midterm election, so it seems to have been postponed. As things currently stand, the Twitter Blue subscription will go live in the US, UK, Australia, New Zealand and Canada. But these are not the only changes that have been made to the app. Reports say some employees that were laid off are now being recalled. Ritu joins us now with the latest details. Ritu, there's plenty going on at Twitter.
Well, updates coming in thick and fast in the world of Twitter. So let me bring you up to speed with some of the recent developments. Number one, remember last week Twitter had laid off almost half of its workforce. But now a Bloomberg report suggests that the company is recalling at least a dozen of the employees, which it said were fired by mistake. And it realized that they are essential to build some of the features that have been promised in Twitter. Number two, the $8 for verification or blue tick debate that rages on, with several people, including the likes of Mark Cuban, suggesting to Elon Musk that exceptions be made. But for now, the stand is very clear from Elon Musk, who says if you want a verification, $8 is what you will have to cough up. Number three, there are new rules for suspension because comedy doesn't seem to be so legal on Twitter anymore. A lot of parody accounts have been suspended, and Elon Musk has clearly stated that if you change your name on Twitter, the verification will be temporarily suspended. And if handles are impersonating other people without saying their parody accounts, they will also face a permanent suspension as well. New features also being rolled out on Twitter. For instance, it'll soon give users the ability to attach long-form text to tweets. And secondly, there will be more content monetization for all sorts of creators. And lastly, in response to a question on when Twitter Blue will be rolled out in India, Elon Musk responded saying hopefully within a month's time.
Ritu, many thanks. Yes, absolutely right. Thick and fast. That's the story at Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, the Minister of State for IT and Technology, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, during his conversation with CNBC-TV18's Ashmit Kumar, had reiterated that Twitter would need to comply with Indian laws. Also seems to suggest that the IT rules should not get in the way of Twitter being able to charge $8 for the blue tick in India. Take a look.
Our expectations from the platform of conforming to our rules, conforming to our laws, not violating our constitutional rights of our citizens, moderating the content, and if he can contribute in some way to our goal of making the internet a less toxic place and a more trusted place, because our goal is that our 120 crore Indians must enjoy the benefit and the privilege of having the internet being less toxic and more trusted. If he can contribute to that, I'd be happy to work with him. If not, he's just one more intermediary that I have to deal with under the laws and the rules.
Well, that's Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Minister of State for IT and Technology. Twitter employees are not alone. Even Meta is cutting its workforce by a significant number. This, according to the Wall Street Journal. Facebook parent Meta is likely to begin large-scale layoffs starting Wednesday. The move is expected to impact thousands of employees and mark the first major retrenchment drive in Meta's history. Production of iPhones have taken a hit after the largest Foxconn factory in China was locked down due to a rise in COVID cases. Apple has also warned its customers that longer wait times are likely when ordering devices. China's zero COVID has also forced schools in Beijing to shut down. This comes after daily infections hit their highest level in over 6 months across China. Back home, the Supreme Court has upheld the 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions for economically weaker sections of society in a 3-2 split verdict. The court held that 10% quota does not violate the Constitution's basic structure by taking economic criteria into account. Ashmit Kumar and Abhishek Dattaroy explain the ramifications and the reactions to this landmark judgment coming in from the highest court of the land.
In a decision that could have major political ramifications, the Supreme Court today upheld the constitutional validity of the 103rd Amendment that grants 10% reservation in government jobs and public and private educational institutions to economically weaker sections among non-scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. A 3-2 split verdict by the Supreme Court upheld the validity of the amendment, which had come into effect in January 2019, months before the Lok Sabha elections. However, the court also observed that reservations cannot continue indefinitely and should be revisited for a casteless, classless society. A slew of petitions had challenged the amendment on the ground that it propagated the principle of exclusion. Petitioners argued that economic classification cannot be the sole basis for reservation. The petitions were referred to a 5-judge constitution bench in August of 2020. Chief Justice U. Lalit, who retires today, and Justice Bhatt dissented. He held that the 10% quota is violative of the Constitution of India. Justice Bhatt held that excluding the SC/ST OBC community from the EWS is violative of basic structure of the Constitution. However, their views did not have a bearing on the overall judgment. Justice Bhatt even went to the extent of quoting Swami Vivekananda, saying, "If anyone dreams of exclusive survival of own religion and destruction of others, I pity him." End quote. The Bharatiya Janata Party and Congress have welcomed the Supreme Court judgment. The Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin-led DMK, which was one of the parties in the case, however, has termed the judgment as a setback to the century-old fight for social justice. Stalin said that they would consult legal experts to chart out the next course of action. The centre has already justified an annual income of 8 lakh rupees as the threshold for the EWS quota. Well, legal experts are calling this a landmark verdict that will have a bearing on the dynamics of both caste as well as class. However, there are still 2 issues that need to be considered. Number 1, states such as the state of Tamil Nadu are dead opposed to the implementation of the EWS quota. Therefore, that raises the question of the execution and the implementation of this quota on the ground. Number 2, the Supreme Court has raised the broader question of whether or not reservations are at all required, saying that reservation is not an end in itself, rather a means to an end, and therefore raising the question on whether or not there should be a timeline for phasing out reservation altogether, and in doing so, sparking a much larger debate. In New Delhi, Ashmit Kumar.
A 3-2 split verdict there, the Supreme Court upholding the constitutional validity of reservations for economically weaker sections. We will head into a break, but on the other side, Himachal Pradesh elections around the corner. What are the issues faced by apple farmers in the state, even as the BJP announces its manifesto? Special report when we return. India's manufacturing sector continues to show resilience despite hurdles. According to the FICCI Manufacturing Survey, the manufacturing sector growth is expected to sustain for 6 to 9 more months. The survey also highlights that existing average capacity utilization of over 70% reflects sustained economic activity. As per the survey, 94% respondents said that they are facing a rise in production cost, but 61% respondents also said higher production levels in Q2 are being witnessed. About 40% respondents reported plans for capacity addition in the next 6 months. The survey also highlights that hiring remains below potential, as 36% of respondents are looking at additional workforce. The survey points that higher raw material costs and increased cost of finance are some of the reasons that are affecting expansion plans of Indian manufacturers. The World Bank could soon announce a big investment towards promoting green hydrogen. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 the World Bank is in talks with the Prime Minister's office. Parikshit Luthra standing by with more in the CNBC-TV18 exclusive news break. Parikshit.
Well, CNBC-TV18 has learned from sources that the World Bank could soon launch a global coalition on hydrogen. World Bank officials are in talks with the Prime Minister's office about the hydrogen initiative. Promoting hydrogen energy in India could be a big focus of the World Bank's program. In response to a CNBC-TV18 query, the World Bank said that they are seeing a strong demand for assistance from client countries for developing hydrogen programs, and confirmed that the World Bank would soon launch a new hydrogen partnership. The program would be managed by the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program. World Bank will be making a substantial commitment to this initiative, and the effort would be to bring together best practices on hydrogen energy relevant to clients and also provide advice and capacity building on policy and project development. The World Bank's commitments could actually spur even greater private sector investment. That's what the statement told CNBC-TV18. The Prime Minister, remember, had launched the Green Hydrogen Mission on the 15th of August 2021, and the centre has allotted 20,000 crores for the hydrogen program. Sources say the government is soon likely to allocate 12,000 crore for a PLI scheme for green hydrogen and electrolyzers out of this outlay.
Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. With influence in nearly a third of the state's constituencies, the apple growing community are a very important factor when Himachal Pradesh goes to the polls on the 12th of November. These apple growers are said to be unhappy with the ruling BJP, while the Congress and AAP claim to have solutions. Santya Gora gets us a reality check from the poll-bound state.
Himachal Pradesh is known for its apple orchards. The fruit crop plays a major role in the state's economy. India's overall apple production is 2.4 million metric tons, out of which over 26% comes from Himachal. Apple production generates revenue of around 5,000 to 5,500 crore rupees in Himachal, contributing around 5% to the state's GDP. But the industry has been going through a tough phase for the last few years. 47-year-old Rinku Chauhan grows apple on his 8-acre orchard. The increasing cost of production has hit his earnings.
जो 800 का कट्टा था, मतलब जैसे मान लो आज मतलब डबल हो चुका है, सीधा 1500-1600 रुपये वो खाद का कट्टा हो चुका है। उसी तरह कार्टन है, कार्टन का भी वही है, मतलब 20-30% तो कम से कम उतना तो बढ़ा ही अभी एक साल में वो महंगा हो गया है। तो इससे मतलब हमारे खर्चा बढ़ गया है, लागत ज़्यादा है, मतलब इनकम कम है। मतलब मार्केट में जो से हमारे जो जा रहा है वो उस दाम में नहीं जा रहा जैसे जाना चाहिए था, वो पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है।
There are multiple issues at play, but GST on packaging material, which went to 18% as compared to 12% pre-GST, is blamed as a big issue. There were COVID lockdowns which interrupted exports, and then this year's bumper crop hit prices and revenues.
यहाँ 18 प्राइवेट कंपनीज काम कर रही है, उनके दामों में फ्लक्चुएशन होती रहती है बार बार। मार्केटिंग सिस्टम का कोई कंट्रोल गवर्नमेंट का नहीं है, कभी दाम बढ़ जाते हैं कभी घट जाते हैं। और हमारा एक और मांग है कि भी यहाँ न्यूनतम मूल्य जो है सेब का तय कर दिया जाए।
The community is also unhappy with the growing influence of organized private players. Apple growers believe that the private players are allowed to operate without proper checks and balances.
In terms of the final prices that the farmers fetch, they do impact. If you look at the YOY scenario, the prices by the large players were set around 72 rupees per kg last year. That was brought up to about 76 rupees per kg this year. And then with the supply glut coming into the market, that was revised downwards.
The ruling BJP believes that it has done everything to help the apple farmers.
ऐसे में कोशिश की है हमने, जो मदद कर सकते थे, जिस रूप में कर सकते थे, जितनी कर सकते थे वो हमने करने की कोशिश की। इसमें सभी तरह के बागबान थे ऐसा भी नहीं था। ये राजनीतिक दृष्टि से कुछ लोग इकट्ठा होकर के इसको मुद्दा बनाने की फिराक में थे।
Though the Congress is claiming that it will pay special attention to the needs of apple growers, the party doesn't seem to have a concrete plan.
We will form a committee, a high-powered committee, which will be headed by the Chief Secretary. And all the members of the progressive growers and associations, they will be part of it. And they will be the one who will take a call on the minimum support price.
The apple growing community realizes that as of now, these parties are making tall claims and unrealistic promises.
The apple growing community of Himachal Pradesh has its influence on 20 out of 68 constituencies of the state. The community is one of the most significant vote bank of Himachal Pradesh, and that's exactly why all these political parties are trying really hard to impress them. All these political parties are making all sort of claims and promises, but the community is still waiting for these parties to come up with an actual concrete plan to resolve their issues. In Khadapattar, Himachal Pradesh, with camera person Balbir Singh, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
And staying with the Himachal elections, the BJP released its manifesto for the state over the weekend, promising a uniform civil code, 5 new medical colleges in the state, and also a slew of incentives for women specifically. It's called the Stri Patra that the BJP has put forward. A 900 crore rupee fund for skill development is also part of the manifesto at a time when so-called freebies have come under the radar of the Election Commission. The BJP has promised bicycles for school-going girls and plenty more, scooters as well for college-going girls. So the bulk of the incentives are being tailored or customed customized for women. So that is the latest there as far as the BJP's Sankalp Patra or manifesto is concerned for the state of Himachal Pradesh. Well, from elections in Himachal to the US, we do have the midterm elections in the US kicking off, where it is going to be a tough fight for the Democrats. These elections are crucial for President Biden and his legislative agenda. Currently, the Democrats control both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Opinion polls suggest the Republicans are likely to wrest control of the House, and the Senate race is promising to be a cliffhanger. With the clock ticking, President Biden, former President Trump hitting the campaign trail.
Biden will spend this last full day before Election Day campaigning in Maryland, while former President Trump will hit the road and hold a rally in Ohio. A final pitch to voters in the final days leading into a crucial midterms.
This election isn't a referendum, it's a choice. It's a choice between two fundamentally different visions of America.
On the campaign trail, President Biden is touting his administration's investments in climate, warned of threats to democracy, and praised job gains under Democratic leadership. This weekend was filled with last-minute campaigning by Mr. Biden and past presidents in the Keystone State. At Republican rallies, former President Trump, who's poised to make another run at the White House, putting the blame on those in power now for Americans' economic woes.
If you want to stop the destruction of our country and save the American dream, then this Tuesday you must vote Republican in a giant red wave.
The final NBC News poll before Election Day shows President Biden's approval at only 44%.
This election is about the Biden agenda. People don't like high inflation, high crime, open borders, fentanyl.
Abortion is also on the ballot and is among the key issues Democrats are focusing on.
We're going to defend our mainstream democratic values against the threats to our democracy. We're going to protect women's reproductive freedom and voting rights.
In our latest NBC News poll, election enthusiasm is now dead even at 73% for both Republicans and Democrats. With less than 24 hours until Election Day and control of Congress at stake, both parties are doing everything they can to sway last-minute voters.
Well, that's going to be important to watch out for the midterm elections in the US. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up on CNBC-TV18 on the other side.